There was a time when silence followed one sound, a Nokia ringtone, before smartphones demanded attention every few seconds. Before glass screens replaced buttons, before phones became extensions of identity, there was Nokia. A company so dominant, it didn't just sell phones, it defined communication. You didn't ask what phone someone had, you assumed it was Nokia. And assumptions are where empires begin to rot. Because Nokia didn't collapse in chaos, it collapsed in comfort. Slowly, quietly, one safe decision at a time. Nokia's story doesn't begin in Silicon Valley or a garage with a dream. It begins in Finland, in forests, in rubber, in paper mills. Founded in the 19th century, Nokia reinvented itself again and again, surviving wars, economic collapses, and industrial revolutions. By the late 20th century, it found its true calling, telecommunications. And when mobile phones arrived, Nokia didn't just adapt, it dominated. By the early 2000s, Nokia controlled more than 40% of the global mobile phone market. That number is almost impossible to comprehend today. Nearly 1 out of every 2 phones on Earth carried the same logo. Nokia phones connected farmers in Africa, executives in Europe, students in Asia. They worked everywhere. They lasted forever. They were indestructible. Drop them from rooftops, lose them for weeks, charge them once, and forget the charger at home. Nokia phones didn't fail, and that was the problem. Because when products don't fail, companies stop imagining replacement futures. Inside Nokia, success hardened into certainty. Executives didn't talk about disruption, they talked about optimization. Better batteries, stronger casings, incremental improvements. The machine worked. Why touch it? But beneath the surface, the world was changing in ways Nokia didn't fully respect. Not technologically, psychologically. Phones were no longer just tools. They were becoming interfaces to life. Music, photos, internet, identity. And Nokia still thought it was selling hardware. Here's the part history often gets wrong. Nokia wasn't stupid. Nokia wasn't blind. Nokia wasn't lazy. Inside Nokia's research labs, engineers had prototypes of touchscreen phones years before Apple. They experimented with full-color displays, mobile internet software-based interfaces. The future existed inside Nokia. But it didn't control Nokia, because Nokia wasn't just a tech company, it was a system. A system built around carriers, supply chains, and mass production at unprecedented scale. Every radical change threatens something massive. Change too fast and carriers revolt. Change too much and manufacturing breaks. Change the interface and customers panic. Nokia had billions to lose. Apple had nothing to lose. That difference matters more than innovation. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced the iPhone. Nokia watched calmly. Executives reviewed the specs. No physical keyboard, limited battery life, high price, locked to one carrier. On paper, the iPhone was inferior, and Nokia trusted paper more than intuition. What Nokia missed wasn't the device, it was the philosophy. Apple didn't see phones as tools. Apple saw them as experiences. The screen wasn't just glass, it was a canvas. The finger wasn't just an input, it was the interface. The phone wasn't finished when it shipped. It evolved. Nokia shipped products. Apple shipped ecosystems. Inside Nokia, fear began to creep in. Not fear of competition, but fear of disruption. Middle managers softened bad news. Engineers hesitated to challenge leadership. Projects competed internally instead of uniting. The organization became polite, and polite companies die quietly. Warnings were issued, reports were written, concerns were raised, but urgency didn't spread. Because urgency requires permission, and Nokia's hierarchy was heavy. Too many layers, too many approvals, too much pride. The company that once moved faster than anyone else now moved like a government agency. Then came software. This was the real battlefield. Nokia's operating system, Symbian, powered hundreds of millions of devices. But it was never designed for touch. It was complex, fragmented, painful for developers. Updating Symbian was like renovating a skyscraper while people lived inside it. Meanwhile, Apple built iOS cleanly. Google built Android openly. Developers flocked, not because they loved Apple or Google, because ecosystems grow where friction dies. Nokia tried to fix Symbian, then tried to replace it, then tried to run multiple operating systems at once. Nothing unified. Each internal team fought for survival. And while Nokia argued internally, the market made its choice externally. By 2010, Nokia's market share collapsed, from dominance to decline in record time. Consumers stopped caring. Developers stopped building. Carriers stopped pushing Nokia devices. Relevance evaporated faster than revenue. The ringtone went silent. In desperation, Nokia made a gamble, a partnership with Microsoft, Windows Phone. It sounded bold. Two giants joining forces. But bold moves made late feel hollow. Windows Phone was elegant, visually striking, technically competent, but ecosystems don't wait. Apps were missing, developers stayed away, consumers hesitated. Nokia bet everything on a platform that never reached escape velocity. And when momentum dies, so does hope. By 2014, the unthinkable happened. Nokia sold its phone business to Microsoft. A company that once defined mobile phones exited the market entirely. Factories closed, jobs vanished, an icon faded. Nokia survived as a networking company, but the Nokia people loved, that version died. Nokia didn't lose because it lacked vision. It lost because it trusted success too much, because it feared breaking what worked, because it believed leadership was permanent. Nokia almost won, and sometimes almost is worse than failure. The future didn't destroy Nokia, it simply stopped waiting.